As a speaker today, please help me welcome Don Yoakum to the stage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Hey, Tawana just gave you guys a fantastic tip, which is just say no. If I were to pinpoint a moment when my career really took off, it is when I started doing a not to-do list. Has anybody ever done one of those? Yeah, one of my coaches, Dan Sullivan, said, delegate everything but your genius, which is another way of saying no. And I did remind him later, by the way, that he should have told us to make sure we delegate to genius. But that's another story. Okay, my mission today in these next 15 or so minutes is to share with you how relational tech powered by AI can help you take advantage of a generational opportunity called the silver tsunami. Anybody familiar with that term, silver tsunami? You're going to want to become quite familiar with it because it's a huge opportunity right now. Before I do that, however, I want to give you a little bit of history of technology because I think some of us are feeling perhaps a little threatened by technology, that maybe it's going to disintermediate us. I remember in 1995, I was in a conference and Bill Gates said, hey, yeah, we're gonna get rid of those realtors. That was 30 years ago, and we're here, okay? I do believe AI is gonna be a multiplier, and some of us will go. I think John was saying there were 436,000 that left last year. There will be more to come for sure. But anyway, in 1997, IBM pitted Deep Blue against Garry Kasparov in a match of chess. Garry at that time was the reigning chess world champion and beat him. And I think our society at that moment was put on notice that these computers, these machines, were ultimately going to best the best of us. And then in 2016, Google took DeepMind and beat the best Go players in the world, which they thought would never be possible. There were just too many possibilities in that game to make that possible, but it occurred. And then more recently in 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT. In 5 days, there were over 1 million downloads. Today, they have more than 750 million active weekly users. Okay, now the good news about this technology though, because like in the case of Deep Blue, in the case of DeepMind, it was pitting the computer against us. What the answer technology has done is it has actually come as an aid to us. I'm going to say, and I want you to write down, AI is a 10x multiplier for me. Okay? It is a tool. It's a very powerful tool. And so long as you ask it great questions, you're going to get incredible answers. You now, at your fingertips, have the knowledge of all the PhDs in the world. Okay, but before we talk about how you're going to take over the world, let's address the elephant in the room, which is the market. We have record unaffordability. As a matter of fact, for as long as they've been tracking the data, we have never had a disparity as great as the one that we have today. The median priced home in the US requires $124,000 in income, yet the average American is earning $74,000. That's a 57% delta. In fact, that difference is roughly twice what it was preceding the great financial crisis of 2008. So it's tough out there. There's no denying it. So when you couple that with the golden handcuffs of low fixed rates, just a few years ago, we had sub-3, sub-4% rates. By the way, roughly 73% of our population, of the homeowners that have mortgages, sub 5%. Okay? Well, they're not so eager to give that low rate up to buy another home. So what's happening now is people are moving because of life events. But what that's translating to is a transfer rate of literally half of what it has been in years past. So referrals are down. And NAR tells us that 82% of the business done in real estate today is done by repeat referral or sphere of influence business. Okay? So if we're going to put that in the context of an individual agent, let's say one that has 300 clients, in years past, they might have expected to have 30 folks moving because people are moving about every 10 years. Well, today, that same client base maybe only will net them 15 transactions. Okay? So what is the response to that? If you're one of those folks that can get up and eat glass like John, you're going to prospect, baby. Matthew Stewart as well has that kind of stomach. Okay? I've grown just a little bit too lazy for that. So I'm looking for the easier route. I'm going to share that easier route with you guys today. And that is the spark of change that I want to talk about. So we have agents. I always tell Stephanie, who's featured here, if I had to go back to sales, I would try to be the next Stephanie Peck. She does an amazing job in Oregon City, Oregon. Really just the epitome of a professional in real estate. And one of the things, besides her and her husband, James, being successful investors, is they're asking their clients a question. Okay, and this is a question worth writing down. As your trusted real estate advisor, I'm curious, do you consider real estate part of your retirement strategy? Now, today, we have record equity in the US, $35.1 trillion in equity. 19 trillion of that is owned by the baby boomers, part of that silver tsunami that we're going to talk to. But if you will ask that one question, I think you will find that that will bond yourself to your client in a unique way, because you're going to enable them to have a graceful exit in their life from work. And so after she asked that question, assuming, of course, that it's in the affirmative, which it is in most cases, she asked them to then share their goals and priorities. So is it tax savings? Is it ease of investment? Is cash flow important to them? Or capital appreciation? Are they looking to do legacy planning, or do they simply want to take care of their home? Whatever those priorities are, that order can now inform AI to look at their portfolio of properties, not just their single-family home, but perhaps their investment property, and then proactively make suggestions. And what Stephanie becomes in that process is she has a transformation from being a by-referral agent until what we refer to as a modern-day advisor. So write this down. I'm going to be a modern-day advisor. Those are the agents that will not be disintermediated by technology. You're going to be able to then help your clients acquire, manage, and expand their real estate portfolio. You can use AI and technology and products like the Deep Dive to optimize your client base, adding, in most cases, over $100,000 in annualized income. And with learning the objectives of your clients and their priorities, you're going to now be able to move from being a by-referral agent that was reactive, waiting for them to let you know when they wanted to buy or sell, to proactive and acting as their modern-day advisor. So we've got now an opportunity in motion. And once you've optimized your personal database, You want to now look to your professional relationships. I was just talking with Jenny this morning, actually, because they have a property management company, right? And they're managing about 150 doors. Every year, that's generating, for her and her team, 6 to 7 transactions. Okay? Now, at ProInsight, my company, we support 50 different professional types, all of which have the common denominator of serving the homeowner as their primary customer. We suggest that you will get just one, although I would tell you a healthy relationship with a vendor that you are regularly referring should net you 4 transactions per year. Actually, Jenny's doing better than that with 6 or 7, right? But I'm telling you guys, it's a huge opportunity. That being said, it's not easily achieved. I've been coaching these affiliates about since 2010. They're not very coachable. So what we did is we figured out a way of enabling you to be tagged, in other words, designated as the real estate resource for some portion of their clients. Okay, now you've got to understand that most of these professionals, whether they be CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, painter, plumber, roofer, landscaper, they're working with dozens of realtors. What we have found is that roughly half of them have unattached relationships, meaning they could designate you. What we suggest is that you will get at least 10% of them designated if you suggest that they join you on a network like the Signature Network on our platform. And the next term I want you to write down beyond your personal assets under management in your database is my network assets under management. Okay? So what can that look like when they designate you to one of their clients? One example is a homeowner, and we have a lot of them now that have gained tremendous equity. That period from 2012 to 2022 was historic in terms of appreciation. So we've got a homeowner that has a non-owner occupied property, very low basis, so if they sold, they'd have a very large capital gain. And they are looking for retirement. I'm going to give you an example, a real case example of one of our clients has sold a townhome to an individual in Simi Valley, Southern California. This property is now today worth $700,000. He doesn't want to sell it because he doesn't want to have a large capital gain. 75 years old now, living across the country in Florida. Our agent, Rick, in this case, went to their client and said, hey, what about a seller finance 20% down solution? And we could spread your capital gain over 15 years. And by the way, that $1,650 that you're netting today after expenses will become $5,003, more than tripling the monthly cash flow for the client. So the client loved it, by the way, and they're moving forward with that transaction. So for those of you that know me, or know me well, like Matthew, you know I love my numbers, and so I'm going to give you guys a few to write down. Now, I told you that we support 50 professionals on our platform at ProInsight, right? I gave you an example of Jenny getting 6 or 7 transactions a year from just one vendor relationship, in that case, property management. Well, if you align yourself with 25 professionals, and we do have someone on our team now that can help you build that out if you're too busy to do that. And those folks, by the way, of all the professional categories, we have found that realtors do the least amount of business. So virtually every professional type has a larger data client base than you. If they allocate, remember I told you 50% is unattached, but if they allocated just 10% of their database to you, it would add 40 million in network assets under management to you. So if you multiply those two numbers, you get $1 billion network assets under management. Now today, the transfer rate across the country is 6 to 7%. But if we took a very conservative 5% transfer rate, that means on $1 billion in assets, you're going to have $50 million in real estate transfer. Okay? I'm going to suggest to you, if you have been designated the real estate resource for that client in a system like we have, you can get a 20% capture rate. We've got a few other little secrets, one of which I'm going to share with you to ensure that happens, but know that that's a reasonable expectation. Well, 20% of 50 million is 10 million in volume, is roughly $250,000 in added income to you. Yes, there you go. Nolly. I talked to Nolly this morning. He's like, hey, Don, what are you going to talk on? I go, I'm going to talk about how there's this silver tsunami and how people could take over these books of business. And he goes, well, that's funny you say that, because I've got an agent in Bradenton, Florida, that just took over an agent's business, woman that has been doing 2 to 3 million plus transactions every single month in Bradenton, Florida. So Nolly's agent has partnered with that agent to take over her business and is now doing those 2 to 3. Who wants to add $24 million in annualized volume? Okay, that's one book of business. And that's what the silver tsunami can afford. By the way, NAR tells us that 25% of the agents today are 65 or over. They're looking for an exit. When you combine the fact that we have 31-year transaction low, they're suffering. And even though they shouldn't be, they feel threatened by technology, by AI. And so that presents an opportunity for you. And I want to remind you, US data suggests there are 10,000 of these baby boomers retiring every day across the country. But who are they going to transfer their business to? It's going to be the person that is a relationship-based agent that they trust, that they can entrust to their clients. Because if they've built their business by referral, they need a relationship-based agent to take it over. And one that will get the most out of their book of business, because they're probably going to be paid by referral. We don't want them just retiring. It's usually a 2, possibly 3-year transition. We want them partnering with you. And as a matter of fact, as Nolly told me, that's exactly what happened. This woman had been working in a boutique brokerage, now joined his agent at EXP. For those of you that are into attraction, there is a side benefit to that. And that's how you make it happen. And here's one of our little secrets. When they combine forces, we suggest anybody remember in your garage, you've got a little sticker from a pest company or HVAC company? Well, we've done it with real estate. And thank you, Nikita. And so we have done this in a way that puts a mini billboard in your clients' homes. So you're going to have an opportunity to book an appointment with me. One of the things that I want to tell you is possible now is putting 10,000 mini billboards in the homes of your ideal clients in your community. So I need to wrap this up. Step 1 of 5Xing your business, even though I told you that AI will 10X you, let's be conservative. Let's add $100,000 by taking your database, transforming it into assets under management, add $100,000 a year. Join a network like the Signature Network at ProInsight to claim your digital real estate so you have something tangible to sell and to build on. Have one of our representatives help build you a professional referral network. That can add $250,000. And then buy one of these books of business from the Silver Tsunami. Just yesterday, in Oregon, talked to a RE/MAX agent, $350,000 a year this guy's doing. He's not even a baby boomer. He's 45 years old, but he's been practicing for 21 years. He's burned out, and he's looking for an exit. You could be the solution. You follow these things, you can be doing $750,000 a year, and you'd be my hero. So let me know when you do that. If you're interested in learning more about the value of your book and optimizing it, let me know. We've got a calculator for that. Or if you're going to buy a book of business and you want it to be appraised, we can help you with that as well. That QR code leads to me, an appointment that you can schedule. Thank you very much.